Welcome to Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets for Tuesday, January 18th on the Mayo Media Network. My name is Cecil Peters. I'm going to walk you through the 8 games on today's slate. 2 8-game slates in a row. We had a big day on Monday with Martin Luther King game. We had some afternoon games, had some evening games, and now we move on to a regular Tuesday night 8-game slate. Slowly but surely getting back into the usual swing of things, having a bunch of games on Tuesdays, Thursdays. Wednesday will be a little bit lighter, but we're finally kind of getting back into the rhythm of having a lot of hockey games on Tuesday, so that's good. We got a lot of spots to make some money on tonight. Before we get started, quick, if you could give a show a like, a rate, a review wherever you are listening and or watching. And if you're watching it on YouTube, please leave a comment below on your favorite game to bet of the night. With that being said, let's get started. First game of the night is in Ottawa. We have the Ottawa Senators coming off of a really good road trip. Season was kind of messed up. They had a bunch of games canceled with all the COVID issues in Canada. Finally, after a long layoff, played Calgary, beat them pretty handily. Played Edmonton, beat them pretty handily as well. Now they're back at home. Buffalo Sabres coming in after an afternoon game against the Detroit Red Wings. Ottawa, like we say, back home after sweeping that Alberta road trip. Especially that game against Edmonton was very impressive. Down 3-1 heading into the third, they end up winning the game 6-4. This game's going to be played in an empty arena. No fans currently allowed in Ontario, but both of these teams, Buffalo and Ottawa, to be honest, they're kind of used to that. Probably wouldn't be a lot of fans at this game anyhow. Buffalo-Detroit game from the day before, honestly, it looked like they had about 2,000 fans in the arena, so I don't expect that to be much of an issue. Biggest issue for me is the goaltending in Buffalo. Just hasn't been very good. Decent against Detroit the day before. They have had a couple of good performances out of Aaron Dell lately, but generally he's good for 4 or 5 goals against. I don't 100% know who is going to be starting this game. I don't know if Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is going to be back. But if it is Aaron Dell or Michael Hauser, slam dunk bet on Ottawa. Ottawa's going to score a ton. Their first line is on fire as per usual. Josh Norris, a couple goals last game. Batherson's been scoring. Kachuk's been shooting pucks. First line of Ottawa, massive DK target for me. This game should be in Ottawa's favor. They got better goaltending, which isn't something you can usually say with the Ottawa Senators. Better defense and better scoring. Minimal home ice advantage with no fans. But Ottawa's just a better hockey team, which feels weird to say, but it is true. Minus 140. I love the odds there. Easy bet to make on the Sens. Next game is a rematch from yesterday. We got the New York Islanders minus 125 at Philadelphia. Philadelphia plus 105 at DraftKings Sportsbook when I record this the day before. I don't know what happened in their game the previous day as I record this, but here's kind of what I'm basing this on. The line for that game was minus 180 in favor of the New York Islanders. All that they really changed is they moved locations to Philadelphia. Islanders only minus 125. Nice thing about the Islanders is they can play either goalie and they still have a goaltending advantage over Philadelphia no matter who Philly plays. So the Islanders minus 125. Matt Barzal's been on a hot streak lately. He's playing with Anders Lee and Josh Bailey. Oliver Wahlstrom shooting the puck a ton. Brock Nelson's playing well. They're getting contributions from anywhere. They did have a dud of a game against Washington a couple nights ago. Other than that, they've been pretty solid. I like the Islanders to win. Minus 125. If that line holds up, is great value on the Islanders. I do expect that to move to closer to minus 150, but if you see it at that number, absolutely worth a bet. Next game is the Winnipeg Jets in Washington. Winnipeg's plus 115 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Washington minus 135. Washington's coming off a loss to the Vancouver Canucks on Sunday. It was the only game of the day. Washington got dealt a tough hand before the game started with John Carlson going into the COVID protocol. The one area you can take advantage of that with Washington is the Alexander Ovechkin shot prop. Without Carlson in the lineup, he was the main shooter. He is the main shooter anyways, but he was taking even more of the shots. 10 shot attempts, 7 found their way on goal. I'm guessing his shot prop line is probably going to be 4.5, around minus 130. Without Carlson in the lineup, just like earlier in the year when they didn't have a bunch of their top guns going, he just takes on a massive shooting load. So Ovechkin to shoot over 4.5, easy money. Minus 130 would be worth it. Minus 140 would still be worth it. 4.5 is a big number, so sometimes we get odds closer to even. Regardless of what it is, I'm taking the Alex Ovechkin shot prop over Ovechkin to score as well, especially against Winnipeg. They allow a ton of shots, ton of goals. Just not a very good defensive hockey team. Like I said, they've been allowing a bunch of chances. The one thing that enables them to still win games is that they also create a bunch of offense, in particular Kyle Connor. He's taken a ton of shots. I'm not sure what the status of Nikolai Ehlers is going to be for this game, but if Ehlers is out, I'm absolutely on the Kyle Connor shot prop as well. Just like Carlson being gone for Washington, Ehlers being gone means all the shots have to be taken by Kyle Connor for the Jets. Even with Ehlers in the lineup, he's usually locked for over 3.5 shots on goal. As for this game, it's Washington for me. They're going to get more chances. They're going to take a bunch of shots. They're going to get some goals. And their goaltending's been better lately. They're back to Ilya Samsonov playing a little bit better. Vitek Vanacek, if he gets the start, has actually been the best goalie for them lately. So I like the Washington Capitals to shut the door on the Jets and get the win here. Next game of the night, probably going to be the best, most competitive game of the night. Two heavyweight teams, the Carolina Hurricanes at the Boston Bruins. If you're talking the whole entire season, Carolina's probably been the better team. But if you're talking recent form, momentum, who's playing better right now, it has to be the Boston Bruins. They're also at home, -130, pretty fair line, but I am leaning towards betting it. Boston's just been the best team in the National Hockey League since the start of the new year. Really paying off what they've done with their lines, moving David Pastrnak with Eric Hall and Taylor Hall. That line's generating a ton of offense when they don't. The usual top line, Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, Craig Smith taking over Pasternak's spot. They've been great. They generate a ton of chances. They don't allow much. This is going to be a tough matchup for Carolina. Carolina got destroyed a couple nights ago by Columbus, which was very odd for them. They did bounce back with a win over Vancouver, but Boston's a different beast. Tuukka Rask back in net for Boston has also given them a ton of confidence. Those guys love playing for Tuukka. He's the ultimate team guy. Came back to Boston on a cheap contract. I don't know for sure if he's starting, but regardless, the Boston Bruins are buzzing right now. Certified wagon status, and if they are going to get the win here, I think you can pencil them in as one of the favorites in the East with a statement win over the Carolina Hurricanes. Next game is in Nashville. Vancouver Canucks, like I said, they beat Washington a couple games ago. Nashville's coming off a game against Colorado the day before. Like I said, I do record this the day before as well, so I'm not sure what the outcome of that game was. But the Canucks, with their big bounce back win over Washington, they really showed me a lot. Elias Pettersson got back scoring. He had a couple goals, but who really impressed me was the JT Miller, Brock Besser, Tanner Pearson line. Dominated play at 5-on-5. They scored an empty net goal at the end. They contributed on the power play. They just looked dominant. They had a really good stretch before Christmas with Bruce Boudreau when he just came in. And they started to look like that line again. They dominated play. They're one of my favorite options for DraftKings, especially with Nashville on back-to-back. If they play UC Saros against Colorado, he's going to have to sit for this game, so it's going to be a great opportunity to get some goals for the Vancouver offense. However, if UC Saros sits against Colorado and plays here, it's a tougher game. But with the odds plus 155, I do like the Vancouver Canucks here. Next game of the night, probably the most lopsided one we have today. Montreal Canadiens coming on the second half of a back-to-back. They just played in Arizona. Now they play Dallas. Dallas is generally a slam dunk on home ice no matter who they're playing against. Now you get them against one of the worst teams in the entire National Hockey League. They're going to score early. They're going to score often. Dallas wins this one big. -265 is too much for me to bet, but I am tempted by the Dallas puck line or Dallas to win in regulation to make those odds a little nicer. At home especially, the Rupe Hintz, Joe Pavelski, Jason Robertson line has been dominant. They did get broken up a little bit in their last game, a tough loss. But home ice, road, very different teams for Dallas when they're in those situations. So Dallas back at home, bounce back game against one of the worst teams in the league. They're going to get right. You're going to see a lot of goals from that line. Dallas won, also one of my favorite DraftKings options on the slate. Next game is the Florida Panthers against the Calgary Flames. Two teams going in opposite directions right now. Florida is not only winning every single game they're playing, they're winning big. They're scoring 8-9 goals a night, just unprecedented stuff. To do it for a couple games in a row has been very, very impressive. They beat Dallas in a big way, beat Columbus in a big way. Now they're on the road, coming into Calgary, but Calgary's lost 4 in a row. They did lose to Florida a couple games back. And Florida's only minus 120. I would have expected minus 150, minus 160 for the Panthers. I know the home ice advantage is a thing, but you just have to look at the momentum. Calgary losing a bunch of games, Florida winning. Minus 120 on Florida doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I expect that line to move. I expect it to get closer to minus 140. So if you see it around minus 120, that is absolutely a bet that you can make. I don't think they're going to score 9, but 4 or 5 against Calgary. That'll be enough to get them the win. Calgary's just not getting any scoring beyond the first line. Last game of the night. This is probably my favorite bet of the night. We got Tampa Bay minus 170 in LA, Los Angeles Kings plus 140. I love the Los Angeles Kings, even on a back-to-back. Luckily for them, they got both goalies now going. Cal Peterson with a couple wins recently. I think he's won his last 3 starts, including a shutout. Jonathan Quick's been playing really well, so it doesn't matter what goalie they have to go to. They're going to get solid goaltending. They just don't give up any shots at home. They kept the Pittsburgh Penguins to a low shot total. They dominated that game. The second line of the Los Angeles Kings is phenomenal. Philip Deneau, one of the best defensive players in hockey right now, and they're providing a ton of offense. Trevor Moore fitting in perfectly on that line. Victor Arvidsson taking a ton of shots. So that line is another target for me on DraftKings. Love those guys. They're shooting a ton. They're still pretty cheap. Philip Deneau, generally under 5K, even though he's scoring a bunch lately. The Los Angeles Kings, plus 140 at home. Just like we won a bet. Kings over the Pittsburgh Penguins a few nights back. The Los Angeles Kings over the Tampa Bay Lightning, plus 140. Favorite bet of the night. Now on DraftKings, big slate. Haven't seen these full slates in a while. They do have a massive $200, 100K to first grand prize contest, which is a rarity for the National Hockey League on DraftKings. I think I've gone over most of my favorite lines, but just for a refresher here. Top line of Ottawa, love them. Top line of the Islanders, I like them as well. There are some ones I have higher. Washington's top line, especially Ovechkin, I love that. Boston, it's hard to pick between the first or the second line. And against Carolina, probably better spots you can go to. The Vancouver line of JT Miller, Brock Besser, Tanner Pearson's taking a ton of shots. If Dave Rittich gets the start for Nashville, that is absolutely the best line of the night. Dallas's top line's getting expensive, but they are worth it all the time. And the Los Angeles Kings second line as well. That's where I'll be going on DraftKings. Again, massive slate for a Tuesday night, 8 games, more than we've had for quite some time. Huge slate on DraftKings, bunch of games to bet on. Tomorrow we will be back with a couple more games. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please rate, review, leave a comment on YouTube, and we will see you tomorrow.